Hi, Nadine Briggs here of Simply Social Kids. I wanted to talk to you today about changes in friendship that happen around age 10 or 11, sort of that late elementary school, sadly, just as they're getting into middle school. So what happens is in elementary school, when kids decide who they want to play with, they just find somebody else that maybe they like dinosaurs, they find somebody else that likes dinosaurs, and they say, great, let's go play. Or, oh, you like pretend too? Awesome, I'll go play pretend with you. Let's figure out a scenario that we can play out together. So the criteria is really very basic because they're elementary school kids. And so they just want to find whatever they want to play in that moment. Might change the next moment or the next day, but they just want to find people who like what they like and they play with them and have a fun time. And that's pretty much all the criteria that they really have for that. As kids get older, though, they start to become a little bit more discerning in terms of who they want to play with. As they're getting to be in that just before middle school age, they're figuring out who they are. And so their interests are starting to solidify a little bit because they're maturing. They're maturing at different rates. So there are some kids who are going to stay in that younger elementary kind of maturity level, and others are going to be more mature, almost ready for middle school before their time. It can be all over the map. And so as kids are in elementary school and they're growing, they're going to be reaching these different levels of maturity at different rates. So what can happen is they might lose a friend, or your child might lose a friend, or even a whole friend group. And it can be incredibly, incredibly painful when that happens. It's like any breakup. It's very, very painful. But it's important to understand why this is happening. And I think it's important for kids to understand that this is happening, and also just as parents to put it on your radar that this could happen about this age, because not a lot of people really talk about this topic as far as I understand. And I think it is something that if parents are more aware that this could happen, you may be looking for the signs and preparing them for it a bit better than if it blindsides you. So just a few things that we wanted to talk about so you're aware, and things that you should know to look out for your child, because they may not pick up on the fact that this friendship is not going well. They might have little bumpy interactions with another person, but they probably don't have the social experience to really understand that this is something's going on that might be a devastating outcome for that friendship. So they just don't have that social experience during this self-discovery time for people. So just a few tips for you guys to look out for and to help your child understand. So the first one is, it's not about them being a bad person or a bad friend. So if somebody is leaving the friendship, it's not their fault. It's something that just happens. It's part of growing up. It's one of the painful parts about growing up, but it's not anything they did. It's not something that's inherently wrong with them. And that's an important message for them as they go forward into new friendships, because we don't want them to internalize that and have that stick on them, that it's them. It's not them. It's a developmental thing that happens, and it's a painful part of growing up. And there are other friends for them to find in the future. So that's an important thing. Number two is to help them understand when it's time to stop trying to be friends with that person who's starting to pull away. So what can happen with kids, especially those who don't pick up on social cues very well, there might be a child who's kind of pulling away and giving the signals that they don't want to be friends anymore and moving away. And you might have the other kid kind of, hey, where are you going? I can't catch you. And following them because they don't know, they're not picking up on those cues that this person does not want to play right now. And if that keeps happening, that person might, lash out back at the friend they're trying to leave behind, because they also don't know how to handle it. And so they don't handle it in very delicate ways. So looking for signs where maybe he keeps asking or she keeps asking a friend to hang out, and they're just, the too busy excuse. Well, there are some kids who are really very busy, and it's a legit excuse. But a lot of times that's just a way for them to say, I'm not interested in playing. I'm too busy playing maybe with other people or moving on with my life without you. And so just watch for those types of things where they're just kind of just too busy to play with them ever. That would be one clue. One of the other ones is the sort of flimsy excuses that they give. So kids sometimes don't know what to say, so they come up with some pretty creative reasons why they're not able to play, or maybe that they didn't get the message. There is one example that I recall from the child who told me that her friend couldn't play or didn't get the messages that she wanted to play because the phone number was always changing on her cell phone. Maybe it was I don't know, my spidey sense tells me it probably wasn't. She probably has the same cell number and didn't know how to handle it and wanted to use the cell phone either not working or the cell number changing as a reason why she was not able to get the messages and respond to this person. So while this is going on, tip number 4 would be to try to find new friends, maybe some friends in the past or friends who have similar interests to your child. And it might be time to kind of get those friends on board as the other friendship is starting to wane. And it might mean trying some new things that they haven't done before. This is tip number 5. Maybe they've always played soccer, but they haven't really been a big soccer fan, or maybe they're not even that good at soccer. And maybe it's time for them to try something different like archery or some other sport or some other activity altogether, drama or something. And maybe in those situations, they'll meet people who like the same things that they like. So as they leave the one friendship, they're seeking out and finding other people who are more like them. So the last thing, number 6, is really important. And this is trying to assess whether your child is starting to be bullied by the friend who's pulling away. This does happen. It makes it so much worse. I mean, of all the things you can imagine, the painfulness of losing a friendship, to have that friend start to bully you is really pretty traumatic. And they don't handle the disengagement very well. And what sometimes kids will do is they'll start to publicly humiliate or really just put down and just constantly berate the person that they're trying to leave in the past. And that's never okay, whether the friendship is dying or not. That is not all right for people to be bullied or be publicly humiliated or anything like that, even if a friendship is, on its last legs. So that's something that needs to be handled and addressed. Sometimes if it's a family friend, maybe the parents have been friends and that's why they're friends, because you guys have all hung out all over the years. You might be able to talk to the other parents and get a sense of what's going on with the friendship so that you do thoroughly understand that the friendship is starting to move on and the other child is starting to move on. There are sometimes I've seen where parents don't want the friendship to end, and so they do perpetuate it a little bit and keep trying when really from the outside in, as a social coach, I can see sometimes friendships that are completely gone, but the parent is really hanging on to them. So that's just some things to be aware of. I think, a lot of people aren't thinking about this sort of thing at this particular age, so it's not really on the radar. But I can't overestimate enough just how much, or overemphasize just how painful this experience is for people, and just to be there to support your child and help them to find new friends and let them know that if there's a dry patch for a little bit, they will find those new friends, those friends that have the same interests as them. It just might take a little bit of time, but to hang in there. It's just something that they're going to have to deal with as somebody who's getting older. And that's just a part of life. And so we just need to kind of bolster them as much as we can, let them know that it's not their fault, hone their own interests, and try to find kids who enjoy the same things that they like, and hopefully have lasting friendships throughout the new middle school that they'll be joining soon, and maybe even into high school and beyond. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit the like button and hit subscribe to hear more from us, and we'll see you next time.